There comes a moment in your healing journey when something inside you shifts quietly. And forever. A moment when the things that once broke you no longer have power, when the voices that once controlled you fade into background noise, and the people who once triggered you feel strangely distant. Carl Jung called this the return to the self, when the world loses its grip on you because you've reclaimed the parts of you that were once lost. If you're hearing this now, you're approaching that moment. The moment when nobody, and nothing, will affect you the same way again. The first sign that you're becoming untouchable is subtle, almost unnoticeable at first. You stop absorbing the emotions, expectations, and projections of other people. For most of your life, you may have been shaped by what others thought of you. Their moods dictated your peace. Their approval shaped your choices. Their reactions became your emotional weather. But something changes when you begin to awaken. You start noticing that most people's energy isn't yours. It's their story, their fear, their unhealed wounds trying to find a place to land. And for years, you unknowingly became that landing place. You carried burdens that weren't yours, guilt that wasn't yours, responsibilities that weren't yours. Jung believed that anything that affects you deeply is touching something unhealed within you. So the moment you begin to heal what once wounded you, simply no longer fits. When you no longer resonate with someone's negativity, their words don't burrow into your soul. They fall flat. When you no longer depend on validation, criticism doesn't sting. It becomes feedback you can choose to accept or ignore. And suddenly you realize you're no longer reacting. You're observing. You're choosing. You're responding from awareness, not fear. People don't change, but your triggers do. Situations don't magically disappear, but your inner ground becomes steady enough that nothing can shake you the way it once did. You stop trying to fix others. You stop explaining yourself. You stop shrinking to make people comfortable. You stop internalizing everything as your fault. This new detachment isn't cold. It's clarity. It's the beginning of emotional freedom. The start of a life where nothing from the outside world has the power to control your inner world. Because you've finally realized, not everything deserves access to your energy. Not every emotion is yours to carry. Not every opinion defines you. And the moment you understand this, you reclaim your power piece by piece, until you're no longer affected by the storms around you, because you've become the calm within them. One of the most powerful shifts Jung points to is this. The moment you stop chasing anything outside of you, it stops having power over you. This includes relationships, approval, closure, success, and even healing itself. For most of your life, you may have felt you had to run after things. Run after being chosen, being respected, being seen, being enough. When you chase, you place your worth outside yourself. You hand over your peace to circumstances you can't control. And unconsciously, you tell the universe that what you seek is something you lack. But when your self-awareness deepens, a new energy rises inside you, quiet but undeniable. You begin to feel that what is meant for you will always move toward you, not away from you. You start to value your time, your heart, your soul. You stop forcing connections. You stop begging for clarity. You stop trying to prove your value. And when you stop chasing, you start attracting. Not because you're lucky, but because you've aligned with yourself. Alignment is magnetic. Inner peace is magnetic. Self-trust is magnetic. People feel it in your presence, your decisions, your boundaries. Instead of reacting to everything, you become intentional. Instead of clinging, you allow. Instead of demanding answers, you let life reveal them. When you no longer grip tightly, things naturally fall into place or fall away. Both are blessings. This is the shift that makes you untouchable. Not because you have everything figured out, but because you're no longer controlled by fear. You don't chase love, you embody it. You don't chase purpose, you step into it. You don't chase abundance, you expect it. And suddenly, everything that once felt out of reach begins to show up effortlessly. The right people, the right timing, the right opportunities. Because you're no longer radiating desperation. You're radiating self-respect. This is when life begins to mirror your inner world. And the world you've built within yourself is finally strong enough, healed enough, and rooted enough that nothing outside of you can shake it again. What affects you reveals you, not in a way that blames you, but in a way that shows you where your soul is still seeking healing. Triggers used to feel overwhelming, like emotional quicksand that pulled you into old patterns. But as you evolve, they begin to transform. Instead of collapsing into them, you pause. Instead of reacting unconsciously, you lean in with curiosity. A trigger is just a memory wrapped in emotion. And when you stop running from the uncomfortable parts of yourself, you discover that every trigger has something to teach you about your boundaries, your wounds, your unmet needs, your unresolved stories. Slowly, the things that used to destroy you become doorways. Someone's silence no longer wrecks your self-worth. It reminds you of your need for communication. Someone's rejection no longer crushes you. It reveals where you tied your value to the opinions of others. Someone's disrespect no longer shatters you. It shows you where to enforce boundaries. This is where Jung's teachings come alive. The shadow, the parts of you you've avoided, stops being a threat and becomes a guide. And as you integrate those hidden parts, you begin to feel something profound. Emotional neutrality. Not numbness, not apathy, but the calm that comes from understanding yourself so deeply that the world can't pull you off your center anymore. You start to respond instead of react. You start to choose instead of collapse. You start to breathe through what once made you break. This is real power, quiet, grounded, unshakable power. The kind that makes you walk through life differently. The kind that makes you untriggerable not because you don't feel, but because you understand. And the things that once controlled you, they lose their hold one by one, until one day you look at the same situations, the same people, the same patterns, and you feel nothing but peace. Not because they changed, but because you did. The final shift comes when you step into the version of yourself that your younger self never believed they could become. When the masks you once wore fall away, when the roles you played no longer fit, when the fear that guided your life quietly dissolves. This transformation isn't loud or dramatic. It's subtle, sacred, and deeply personal. You begin to see yourself clearly, not through the lens of trauma, validation, or expectation, but through the eyes of truth. You begin to trust your intuition, honor your needs, protect your peace, and walk with a certainty that others can feel even if you never speak it out loud. This is when you stop abandoning yourself. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop shrinking to make other people comfortable. You stop negotiating your worth. You start choosing the environments that nourish you. You start attracting relationships that mirror your growth. You start building a life that feels like home. And suddenly, nothing external has the ability to destabilize you because you are anchored within. You know who you are. You know what you deserve. You know what aligns with you and what doesn't. This is the moment Jung described as individuation, the return to the self, the rebirth of the person you were meant to be before the world wounded you. You become whole. You become rooted. You become unshakable. And when you reach this place, you realize the truth. It was never about becoming harder, but becoming softer toward yourself, softer in understanding, softer in acceptance, softer in self-love. Because when you treat yourself with that level of compassion, nobody can use your wounds against you. Nothing can pull you back into old cycles. No one can affect your sense of self ever again. This isn't immunity, it's mastery, a quiet inner knowing. I am no longer controlled by the outside world, because I finally belong to myself. If this message found you, it's because you're stepping into a new emotional chapter, one where your peace is your priority, your boundaries are firm, and your heart is no longer accessible to anything that tries to break you. You're not becoming colder, you're becoming clearer. You're not becoming distant, you're becoming aligned. Remember this, every layer you shed brings you closer to your true self, the version of you nobody and nothing can shake again. If you're ready to keep growing, healing, and rising, stay with me. Your transformation has already begun.